Yes, I have a report from the schools, and everybody got a copy, and I will drop off sometime today and tomorrow at your house a copy. It's sort of their summary of pre-completion. They're gonna have two outstanding things. They're gonna have the scoreboard and flagpoles as not being ready. They hope to be able to play on the field by October 1st. They hope to have the baptism of the field or whatever on homecoming on Thanksgiving. But the athletic director and the superintendent do not want to use anything because the minute they set foot on it, it voids the warranties and stops the warranties, and they don't want anything to start early, and they've got a couple of, one of the selectmen suggested security cameras, but they found out that if they stop playing with the light poles, they void the warranty on the light poles, but they are gonna run the conduits for it, and at some time along the line, it might happen. And another select person wanted lights on the tennis court, and it was rather expensive, and only about half the schools have lights on their tennis courts, and the people who do have problems on their tennis courts, that it's easier to just go from sunrise to sunset, and so they work on the piece of papers that I handed out, has a list, I believe, of the, I gave away my top copy, so. Has a list of the projects and the costs and things they want to add and everything else, but they claim to be right now about $89,000 below budget.
Wow.
But they have a change order for $83,000, which I believe is landscaping, which was one of their exceptions that they took off. And they're adding that back on. I forget what the other 3 or 4 were, but they're not touching them at all. Somebody had a question about the storage containers. I think I was the one that had the question, but a couple of people have asked me about it because I said it was $20,000, and a couple of people I know said you can go online and buy them for $5,000 and everything else, but this is a custom storage container that has a roll-up door and not 2 big trailer truck doors, and the inside is fitted out so you can hang stuff and wall stuff, so it's, I guess it's worth the money, but they sort of justified it there. Other than that, they are moving right along. The turf for the second field, which everybody calls the softball field, is on site now. I assume by the end of the week, if it stops raining, they'll lay that down, and by next week, both fields will be turfed. They've had no trouble with animals because they're using coyote urine to keep the animals off the field, and other than that, that's the way things are going.
It's good to know they're not getting any disruption. So you said turf for both of the fields are on site?
The full football field is already turfed.
Okay.
It's been sanded, but they gotta put the chips, the rubber chips or whatever they are, on it to make it more resilient for use. The secondary field, which is called the softball field that's behind the superintendent's office, is graded, does not, I don't think it's getting padding because it's not being used as much for football. It's just getting stone dust graded, and then yesterday or the day before, the turf for that field showed up, and it's right at the entrance to the high school. It's all piled up there if somebody wants to take a ride by, so.
Okay, good. Are there any questions that anyone has over here? Okay, thank you, excellent job. Okay, next on the agenda is the town hall. So I'm going to turn that over to Steve. Yes, Jim?
Should we not approve the minutes? Shouldn't minutes be in the beginning of the agenda?
I'm sorry, I completely forgot about minutes. Mark?
Yes. So there were minutes from August 8th and August 22nd sent around.
I actually read them before my computer dissolved into dust. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Did you read them?
Is there any, do I have a second?
I'll second them.
Is there any discussion on the minutes? All
No.
in favor? Jim?
Yes.
Bob?
Abstain.
Mark?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, so thank you for the minutes. And I apologize.
One more thing, Dinah.
Yes.
The annual report for town meeting, for the town report.
Okay.
Did anyone read that?
Yes.
I never get that. Thank you. You put it up to the
have to
computer.
use
or
your
come-
I think it's due October 3rd.
That'll be great.
It is,
Don't
yes.
put the
it is
squirrels in the
going-
cage with the peanuts and everything.
Everybody, has everyone had a chance to read the submission for the town report?
Yes.
Are there any comments or questions about it?
I would question why you don't name the members.
I was gonna put it at the end, I think I forgot. I was gonna list them at the bottom. Will be added.
Okay, so we will add a note to add the membership to the committee.
Yeah.
Somebody does read them.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion to accept it.
I'll make the motion, but I don't feel it's a motionable item, because you can write any report you want for the town report as chairperson.
Whatever you wanna do.
You can second it.
I second it.
All right, let's just have a vote anyway.
My bad.
Jim?
So she can keep it. Jim?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you very much.
So I'll send you the Word file. I think that's what they were looking for.
That's what they were looking for, yes.
With the addition.
Yes.
Okay,
Addition.
have I forgotten anything else? All right, let's move on to the town hall. Steve, we'll get that over to you, please.
Okay, thank you, Dinah. I'm just going to sort of combine a little bit of the two before we go strictly into the town hall, just to recap what we've done since the last meeting. We did meet with the Conservation Commission on the 22nd of August, and that was continued to the 12th, that was for the senior center. We also, on the 30th, we met with the building inspector, deputy chief, and the chief, and walked through the old town hall and looked at all those existing conditions. We did somewhat come up with an egress path that seems like it's going to work. Mike and Ed are looking at it a little bit further, but we did spend a fair amount of time going through that building and their concerns there. Also on the 30th, we had the planning board meeting, again for the senior center, and that was continued to the 20th. On the 1st, we met with Beth and the food pantry people, went through some of the mechanics of the food distribution, how the meals were getting out, exactly who was using what doors, what windows, and so forth. This is something that came up during the planning board as far as the flow of traffic that they were concerned about, and how we may be able to improve that, or if there was no improvement, how that was all going to work. So we had that meeting. We do have, again, Conservation Commission meeting tonight, and we are also on the agenda for zoning on the 14th, so pretty busy. What we want to talk about tonight in somewhat detail is the status of the town hall and the updated budget, and then also the same for the senior center and that budget, and then some of the value engineering that we are looking at, suggesting suggesting highly that we're going to have to implement. So I'll turn it over to Ed to start.
Madam Chairwoman, I have a question, or two, or three, or four.
Yes, Jim?
During your walkthrough, do you still feel that we shouldn't destroy the other part of the building? That was one of your recommendations. Now that you've seen the disaster the building is.
Oh, yeah,
We think that the ramp, I think the one-story portion with the ramp should remain. We think that's gonna make,
Well, the newer portion, with the newer office, not where the old gymnasium was, and
there's a one-story portion to the north, if you will, to the right of the gymnasium.
that's
The
the
food pantry minutes would recommend demolishing, but there's a little piece behind that that's also one story that has a ramp inside that basically creates an exit out of the lower level.
that's the old police station.
Yeah, we're recommending that remain. Yeah.
And my second question, and this is towards you, Madam Chairperson. When I was watching the committee meeting, I had probably some answers based on the history of things going on, that I feel somebody from the committee should probably be, not that I don't trust the three gentlemen, but I don't think they have a history of the town or what's going on, or to clarify, or maybe they were trying to be politically correct and didn't want to criticize what was being said, because there seemed to be, one, some confusion between the food pantry and the kitchen and the purposes of both, or either or. Then the flow of parking, which, if anybody knew anything about the food pantry, they park, they don't wait in line and queue up like somebody mentioned. And I don't know, I had 3 or 4 things that I think I could have interrupted their meeting and made it clearer to them so they could make a concise decision as quickly as possible. I'm done.
I agree with you, Jim, that someone should recommend there. I tried desperately to log on, but their internet service was down, and they could not support remote participation that evening. I am planning on going to the zoning and board of appeals on Wednesday evening, which will be Concom tonight, and there are some issues before the finance committee, so I intend to go to those tonight, sort of trainings. But yes, I think, somebody should be there, and I would just like to let the committee know that I did try but could not access the meeting.
There's things that we worked on back in the development, Mike was here during the development stages, but the other 2 gentlemen weren't, that we discussed, and some things we eliminated and some things we added, and what they want to add. Like I mentioned, the school committee, 2 selectmen showed up and they wanted lighted tennis courts and security cameras. Well, that was discussed by them 3 years ago, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel we're trying to save money and have a building that's worthwhile, and we've already cut what we would cut.
And thank you for pointing it out.
So I'll move on to Norton Town Hall, I guess? Yeah. So we'll just give you an update on the design development. And so this is just the site plan where it presently stands relative to budget largely. As you can see, you've got Town Hall in orange in the middle. You've got a parking area, to the below that and to the left of that. You've got the main drive lane that comes in. As we've been working to reduce the cost of the project, there's a drive lane that we originally proposed that will connect, and showing you there on the cursor. We have now included that into the project as an alternate. The understanding that we at this point, in order to get to budget, we've made that an add alternate. So that may not happen as part of the project, depending on how costs come in bid time. Other than that, this is largely as you've seen it before. Floor plans, yeah, please.
Do we need all those parking spaces? The town hall right now has hardly any parking, and they don't fill up all the parking during the day as it is.
Our analysis has suggested that they're necessary, yes, in terms of.
Because I know Blacktop, that whole back to the left of the town hall
There's 40 some odd- there's 40
seems
some-
unnecessary to me. We have $1 million parking space to the right of the fire department.
We see where Ed's got the cursor to the left of town hall is largely being staff parking. There's also places there for the various trailers and stuff like that that relate to the fire department. All the parking you see around the fire department, that's all designated for the fire department. And then the lot you see in the front is for visitors for the fire department. And then we've got the big lot, and, that's all for, that's for visitors, for, board of selectmen meetings, zoning board meetings, all the, people who are visiting. I think some of this too will be used for spillover from the library at times. But, based on the analysis that's done, this is largely the amount of parking that's necessary.
This is based on the bylaws.
And we have even pinched it in places as we've developed it, so it's as small as it's been. Maybe that's the best way to put it. That's cool. And if we think we can make it smaller, we have to do it.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So, the only thing I don't like about this, I don't like the entrance of the police station next to the town hall. I just think that's a disaster waiting to happen.
We're working on trying to get a little bit more buffer between those two.
Yeah.
Right, or keep it on the time. It's been like this for
I know, but when I look at it, I'm like, cars coming in and out,
No, police department, those are police vehicles only coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, the public is coming and going from this curb cut to
Yeah.
get back to the DPW and the police.
This lot line,
Okay.
that's.
So that exit is only for police, and there's only
Yeah, it'll be
4
signed.
cruisers on the road during the day, so
Yeah.
I don't see where there's a traffic management problem.
What we may have to look at is the extent of the plantings, making sure that we have sight lines.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, that tree.
VHB is
That's not a
actually,
big deal.
VHB is actually in the process of pushing that to the left. They're just trying to work through all that before they make this, the submissions to the town. Plans are largely as you've seen them before. We're always kind of tweaking things around as we, develop mechanical shafts and the like. It's the same. It's actually gotten a tad smaller right there.
As we've taken things up.
Second floor, again, it's largely the same. So this is the attic plan, and it's showing, what we're showing here is that we've included storage, essentially overflow storage, if you will, up in the attic. This is part of the base bid work as we have it. You can see a stairway coming up and an area for storage. In previous plans, we actually had it on the top part of the page, but in order to get the mechanicals and like to work the best, we pushed this over to the right.
None of the mechanicals gonna get in the way of any of that? Well, that's not in the way of the mechanicals?
Correct.
So it actually worked pretty well. This you've seen before, this is unchanged. Good siding, asphalt shingle roofs. These are the interior views we shared with you at the last meeting. And the good news here, this is up on the top right-hand corner. You can see the construction hard cost as estimated. And we can bring it down. I'm gonna let Ed walk you through this, actually. He's been spending a lot of time on this, so.
So the good news is the construction costs for the town hall actually tracked. We had gone through that extensive round of value engineering the last time where we changed the exterior from brick to clapboard, and we reduced the extent of the site work, we scaled back the demolition of the original town hall. This basically proved that we're on budget relative to the construction, which is good news. There were only 2 add alternates that we included, the select board meeting room desk, and as Michael pointed out, that connector road to the police and the DPW. Steve, if you want to walk them through the project budget.
I passed out 2 budgets. One is for the town hall, one is for the senior center. Essentially, if we're looking at the town hall budget, I left on the schematic design from May and added the design development cost estimate that came in at the end of August. Essentially, the hard costs are the first section. Construction at 16,609, and then the associated markups, which is escalation, design contingency. And if you notice that those percentages, escalation has gone up because that's the market, but design contingency has gone down from 10% to 5% because we're further on along with the design. And then our general contractors, general conditions, bonds, insurance, that remain the same percentage. We do have a phasing allowance that we've also added to the project at 1%. We reduced that from what we had previously, which was about $388,000. I did not list the alternates because at this point we probably cannot take those. We still have a 5% construction contingency on the final cost. And then the next page we get into the soft costs, which is your AE fees, your OPM fees, and a number of other moving FF&E, which we had reduced previously. And FF&E consists of furniture and exercise equipment, which we don't have on the town hall, office equipment, and maintenance supplies. Then we have owner testing, which is construction testing of concrete, soil compaction, so forth. The monitoring of the hazmat, removal, soil testing during construction, advertising, legal, builder's risk. We're not going to be carrying builder's risk. We've got HVAC commissioning. And then the IT by owner, telephone by owner, security, we're still carrying our placeholders on that. Those need to be vetted out more as far as really talking to the end user about what we want to put in to the building, what we need, and then getting some estimates on those items. Similarly with the audio-visual, BDA, the bidirectional amplifier, hopefully we will not need that, but we have to carry a placeholder for that until the testing of that is done once the building is up. That's for the fire department. Utility back charges, we won't know those until we get them either from, most likely from the electric company. And then planning board costs, those are the peer reviewer costs. We come down to soft cost contingency. We did have to reduce that to make sure that we maintained our budget. That was at 5% at $182,000. Reduced it down to a little over $70,000. And then we get on to the last page. We had to carry the overage on the site purchase on the budget. And we are still, if you see that the total is $23,961,000, we're still over our overall budget of $23,290,000, but we had spoken previously about using the ARPA funds to fund the septic and water. So we're carrying those costs. We talked to Mike Units a couple of times, and again, as recent as today, and we do want to confirm that with him, but that brings us to basically an even budget. We'd like to be under budget if we can, but as we've said before, the estimator is not estimating the project to win the project, he's estimating it to be in the pack. And that way, you hope pray that you gain bid savings on bid debt, that can go back into any one of the other items or just the contingency itself. Any questions on those numbers? And I've got a couple more copies. Does anyone not have one?
Do you have any questions on the town hall budget? So far?
And this is this is our design development. We've got another estimate coming for construction documents.
Your Hearing no one. So we move along to council on aging.
Actually, we're just gonna go a few things, just next steps for what we're gonna do with Town Hall. We need to meet with the town, we're gonna begin scheduling meetings with the town to review audiovisual and FF&E needs. Now that we've got a better sense of where things stand with the budget, we can kind of work the two together. So we'll be doing that very shortly. We'll soon be submitting plans to the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and for planning and zoning approvals. Those meetings will likely occur, those actual public meetings will likely occur in November. We're proceeding with development of construction documents, and the next estimate, cost estimate, will occur at 75% CDs. That will occur in November. Our team, working with Steve, we need to begin, putting information together for pre-qualifying contractors and the final sub-bids. Working together, we also need to coordinate the front end of the specifications with both the town and with Steve and his team. All working toward the goal of having the project out to bid in January 2023.
The one thing to think about as a committee, as part of that pre-qualification subcommittee, it's made up of 4 members, 1 the OPM, 1 the architect, and 2 members of the building committee. I'm not asking for names tonight, but just thinking about who may want to be involved. And that's essentially, we're going to put out an RFQ to get proposals from general contractors and separately from the file subbidders. I'll send in a proposal, have a lot of information on it. Vertex does a lot of the legwork on this. We have the matrix to put it together. We usually get the packages sent to our office, we bring them up here. We'll go through all that, but essentially we hope to get a good turnout on proposals, because once we pre-qualify, then those particular trades and general contractors are the only ones that can bid on the job. So the idea is to get the number. It's very, very difficult to disqualify a contractor. You can, it's been done before, but generally speaking, we get the same group, and we know a lot of the same group. We're doing pre-qualifications quite often. We're doing one right now on another project, so we'll see the same ones, and we can sort of overlap some of that information because it's close enough. Which will speed up that process a little bit. We still have to go through it as a group. We'll probably have, we don't have to meet in person, but we'll probably have a remote meeting with that pre-qualification group, just to make sure that we all agree on who we're passing to bid on the project. And then ultimately, we'll send letters out to each GC and each pre-qualified file subbidder saying that they can bid on the job. And if there's ones that aren't, they'll get a separate letter saying that they're a little different.
Just a point of interest, the school department thought the same thing, that there's just a certain amount of people who bid on athletic field development, and for some reason Lawrence Lynch came in lower than everybody else, and nobody had heard of him other than doing highways. And they seem to be very satisfied with him, and he seems to be working very well with them. So I would hope, I hope that somebody usually doesn't gets it, but I would hope also that we get somebody that we don't be scared away because maybe they never built a town hall or senior center.
Well, that's part of the whole process. Part of the questions is, what's your experience on building a town hall in a complex of other buildings, because that's not out by itself. There's phasing that has to be done. You want to see that they're not the guy that just said, hey, I'm going to try a town hall.
Well, that's part of the screening process that we did to pick architects. We didn't pick an architect that built the Prudential's Tower. We picked architects that did town halls and
So you
senior
guys did the
centers.
Prudential, huh?
We'll put the pool on the 23rd floor.
Yeah, we'll move on to senior center.
Now, was there, just a second,
Oh.
because I had already asked him if we were to go with the town hall, we kept going. Is there anything else to do with the town hall this evening?
I'll volunteer again. You wanna do it? Yeah.
No, Dinah.
Okay, thank you, because I cannot see. Now let's move on to the council on aging. Trying to get you guys out of here for 6:30 Concom.
Yeah, so just quickly, this is our 75% construction document update. Site plan is largely unchanged here. We're going to show you a few things as we move forward. There's another plan coming up. Any bookmarks right here? Well, that's later on, I'm sorry. Yeah, so again, floor plans, tweaking things around, but largely what you've already seen.
But we have incorporated, based on our previous meetings, all of the requests for the kitchen.
Thank you.
Add a dishwasher, right?
We'll get to that, yes.
So this is a view of the front. You can see in this view, it doesn't have dormers.
The dormers are currently part of an ad alternate.
This is the view with dormers, which we encourage.
Well, that lady on 140 on the bike's gonna die.
That's already worked. You will stay
on a hilly highway? That's,
Can we keep on topic, please?
Yes.
Can we go back to the site plan for a minute?
We're going to come back to it too, so, well, go ahead.
Concom asked you about having a walkway from the right-hand side into the shopping plaza, rather than worry about no sidewalk out in front. And I was hoping that Mike would be here, because I somewhat remember that there was a plan that Mansfield Ave was getting resurfaced, and there would probably be a sidewalk from Freeman Street all the way past our building.
We're going to show you, if we go forward, we're going to show you what's in the scope presently, if that's okay.
Yeah, but it would have answered their question.
We are showing the walk. You can see that Ed's got the cursor on it. We're showing the walk that'll connect to the plaza on the right.
As long as we put the camera that way, I don't care. It's him.
So this is just an up close of the entranceway, showing planters which create, essentially separation between the vehicular traffic and the area where people would enjoy the outdoors. You're seeing just this kind of striped island. Once upon a time, we had different paving there flush, but we've simplified that to save money. View in the back, looking out.
Our senior Senate director is shaking her head. I would hope she would speak up about what she's shaking her head about.
No, I was just concerned that before we had something raised in the front.
Well, that was a very long time ago, because we don't think having something raised makes the most sense here.
Right.
It was a different kind of pavement.
I just see the way people drive in this parking lot, going out the wrong way, backing up. I mean, lines don't really mean anything to some of us, so it's just a concern.
an island you're talking
Huh?
about. Raised island.
We think the island would actually create a bit of
Could be
a
worse.
hazard. Yeah,
And a maintenance issue.
and again, it's been flushed for a very long time,
Okay,
because we
I-
think it's the right way.
Okay, I just never noticed it, I guess.
You could groove the payment if you wanted to.
At some point, you might put up a few cones or something, just to give people a little bit of sense of direction, but they won't be,
But nothing
if they hit them, they'll be okay.
Because you have those ones that bolt into the.
You can also kind of drill them down, yeah.
It's still drawing through the challenge.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
So just a view of the back, you can see the area to sit outside. The doors are recessed slightly, left and right.
Can I ask a question about do we know what direction that faces?
Largely south, but not direct south. Southwest, yeah.
So it'll be pretty sunny for most of the day.
Oh, yes. So this is a view from the inside, obviously, you're looking at the welcome desk, the main entrance out the straight door, the cafe, and then the corridor down to the arts room, various spaces. View of the multi-purpose room, looking out the back. Looking back toward the main lobby. And that's going to walk you through the budget.
Unfortunately, the news on this isn't as good as it was in the town hall. So we had done all of those things, tightened up the site work in the previous phase, we tightened up the building in the previous phase. The costs have escalated since our last estimate on the senior center, and we were faced with a shortfall of $761,000 total project. We came back and looked very hard at what we had inside the building, outside the building, and also in the project budget. And one of the sheets I handed out has a proposed VE list. We tried to identify things that didn't sacrifice the space, the organization, the general aesthetic and feel for the building. Some of the things, I'll give you for instance, we had wood trim on the doors and the corridors. We took it off and just let the painted hollow metal frame be exposed. It'd be perfectly fine. There's no issue with it. It's not gonna look quite as high-end, but we tried to find a significant number of small items because the building isn't very big. Since it's under 12,000 square feet, making a minor change in material doesn't yield $100,000 on any one item. So we had to go after a variety of a lot of smaller items with the multipliers for the overhead, the escalation, all those other things, to get to a place that got us close within striking distance. And if you see the list, there are 35 items that we identified. There were 4 that we don't recommend taking at this point, but that list totaled $332,000
Take the money out, it makes
and
it
change.
smaller and smaller, you know.
And some of the items, like I said, were larger than others, and I'll give you, for instance, we had the EV charging stations. That's a nice to have, it's not a must to have to operate the building. So what we're proposing as a VE item is to put the conduit, the pull strings, the bases, the bollards in place, and leave it. And in the future, if there's funds available, come in and install them. So at least the pathway is there.
Hard work is done.
Right, you need signage and the actual device and a wire, but everything else will be sized for it. Another one that we saw in that site plan was that island out in front. Previously, it was concrete pavement with granite curb all flush. That was an expensive proposition. But you can see, the dollar value of some of these items wasn't very big. We had previously gone from aluminum clad wood windows to vinyl. That's in the base estimate. There's nowhere else to go, as a for instance. But we did look at the interior trim. We had all painted wood trim on the interior. Simplify it, go to drywall returns.
Around windows.
Around the windows and doors. So it's,
And a sill,
the sill would still be painted wood for durability. But those are the kinds of things that we looked at in order to try and trim the sails yet again. We could probably jump to the project budget to grab the rest of those items. Steve
Yeah,
wants to focus.
the other budget that I handed out was for the senior center. It's, again, I'm showing the old conceptual, the design development from June, and now our CD 75 from August with the updated numbers. The value engineering number that's highlighted in yellow, I actually took a number off of a list from the 8th, so that's a little bit different, but it's not a lot. It's 14,000 or something like that.
332,095.
332,095, yes. So, sort of recalced everything based on those value engineering items, 1 through 35. And again, maintaining our 5% construction contingency gets us to 9,144,619. Then we go into the soft costs, and there's additional cuts that have to be made in the soft costs. You have your AE, OPM fees, then you start getting into the other fees. The ones that I've highlighted in yellow are ones that have changed. So you can see that we reduced the moving, the furniture has been cut to 100,000. The exercise equipment, office equipment, kitchenwares, maintenance supplies, and activity supplies, we've had to cut to 0. The owner testing, anything that has to do with the construction of the building is still here. Some of the items, like the 60-foot flooring, we've already incurred that cost. There's been other reductions that we've made in previous iterations, like the commissioning. We deleted the building envelope commissioning completely. It's not required by code. Again, we're going to be looking at the IT, the telephone security, and audiovisual much closer. So even though we reduced a couple of those, they're still just placeholders. Utility back charges, again, we won't know until we get hit with them by the utility company. Moving the shed's going to be by the town. Permitting and planning board review costs, maybe we can pick up something there, but I'm still carrying those for now. The soft cost contingency we reduced from 106 to 50,000, and that gets us to $181 under budget. So I'm trying to get the budget to roughly 0 out. And if we have bid savings on bid day, that money will go back into the budget. Yep. So,
And when is bid day again, please?
well,
We're hoping for mid-October.
Mid-October.
We'll get to that in a minute. One thing I did want to highlight before we move on is what's not included in this base bid number. Things that have been included as add alternates were the things we discussed previously. So the range and the dishwashers are an add alternate. The next is the balance of the equipment in the kitchen for the reach-in refrigerators, refreezers, the ice machine, etc. We also had identified the reach-in refrigerators and freezers for the food pantry down on the other end of the building. The dormers on the main elevation that we showed in the rendering, and the privacy fence along the north property line with the commercial property next door. So those are things that have been identified as alternates to add to the project if funding is available. There's also the issue of fundraising, which is going to come up tonight at FinCom, and donations and whatnot.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sorry.
So one of the questions that's on your cut list here is the soundproofing,
We're just done it in a different way.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's being addressed somehow, because I know that is a big issue in this building here. We have Zumba here, we can't even hear ourselves think, never mind our clients that we're counseling in the other room. So we just want to make sure that, the people playing cards can play cards and concentrate at the same time crazy Zumba's going on or something.
They're in different rooms though, right?
They're in different rooms,
Okay.
yes,
Which will help.
which will help. But I mean, they're in different rooms now, and it's,
Those two items are sort of, they were independent before. We're trying to do with the higher performance ceiling tile
okay.
in lieu of that. So it will help to basically do the same thing.
Thank you.
In the food pantry, you have an add alternate of commercial reach-in refrigerators and reach-in freezers. Are there any actual left in the plan?
No.
There will be an uproar, even though people don't like attending these meetings, to represent their site sections of the thing, but she told us, when she did meet with us twice, that she needed a freezer and she needed a refrigerator. And this sort of struck me when I first read it, and then when I read it again in the minutes, I don't see how we can get away without it. Because
Gloria attended the meeting with us
Okay,
on
but-
first.
That, I believe, is going to be the senior center.
Well, hopefully not.
I mean,
Hopefully you can
if we're chainsawing it in half and
No,
sharing it with everybody.
So the goal is you're gonna raise money, is that right? And it,
Lori can have my freezer if I don't need it.
right?
So how much do you have to raise total? Well, it's another 26.
For the kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the first three items, right?
The food pantry's really the third item.
So it's like 60.
They need to do some fundraising as well.
Yeah.
And I can talk to Lori about that. I think she has,
I would let, so the food pantry is now in a position where they need to raise money for their refrigerator and freezer.
Yes,
Okay.
Unless we can accept the alternates. And they're alternate number three.
accept the alternates. Are they acceptable?
If there's money available to accept the alternates, yeah, really the way to put it.
Right. I mean, we may have the money and decide we don't want to take the alternates, we want to put it back into contingency or something. That's a decision you make once you're evaluating the bid.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that the COA is raising money for the kitchen. And we're not talking about food pantry section, is that correct?
Yes.
Right, which is just two appliances.
Four.
Four, sorry.
There's nothing there now, right?
They have an old, small residential refrigerator with a top freezer now. That's all they have in there now.
I mean, we also have this, which is pretty new, which is only 2 years old, that, I mean, we can cut a deal.
So back to the equipment, just to kind of set the record straight, the base bid includes the infrastructure, piping, the wiring.
Yes.
Everything in the building to support those things. It's just not the actual appliance.
In some cases, you're just going to plug it in and set it in place.
We also have the vent hood in the base bid in the kitchen, which is not correct.
Excuse me, I'm still back on the food pantry.
Go ahead, Diane.
I just want to make sure that Gloria is aware that only the infrastructure is currently going in for the refrigerator and the freezer and the food pantry. That there will be fundraising required.
I think she was aware, Dinah, but we can certainly
I think it needs to be
confirm that.
Confirmed, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin?
I don't know.
Email should do it, right?
Yeah,
But
I just
anyway,
want
we
to make
can-
sure that she is aware. I
Understood.
understand that she's not at the meeting tonight, but
Right. You'll be on that email. That's
Thank you.
right.
Go ahead.
When the bids go out, right, do they come back and price everything? Or do you give them the pricing?
No, we give them the drawings, they give us bids.
They'll give us the pricing.
Lump sum of these alternates.
So you're not gonna, are you putting in the specs of the kitchen material?
As an
As an alternate.
As an alt, well.
Yes.
There's a section of
Pending
specs.
pending approval from the committee, yes.
So I have two questions. One is the food pantry equipment that's listed up there, 26,000. To me, that's more than a refrigerator and a freezer. Is there something else in there?
There's four of them.
There's four of them? Is it all for
Two refrigerators, two freezers.
commercial freezers? And then is this the order you think we want? Because once we can't accept two without.
We're gonna come back, we'll show you the
Come back
next
to that?
steps.
Okay. And then the only third thing, I'm looking at this BE item, the only thing on here I don't like is the sign being omitted. Whether the senior center or no sign.
We were talking about that this
It's the
afternoon.
only thing on this list that I, you know,
We're gonna try to figure out a less expensive way to get it done.
makes sense, Beth?
I put two,
You know, as you can see, we're struggling.
Yeah, I know.
We need help.
We don't have any letters on the building, so we do need to have something.
We have to have-
Identifies
You
them.
know, what we're trying to do is to maintain the things that are very hard, if not impossible to put back later.
Yep.
And to
I
remove
appreciate
things
that.
that seem possible to add in the future without too much fuss, once money is raised, or, you know,
And those can
developed over
be capital
time.
requests over time. yeah.
Exactly.
We were wondering if there's a sign company in town that will be,
Right.
generous.
Right, and that, if the warrant articles pass, and we're gonna hit the ground running on that.
So,
Even if it's something that was not spectacular.
we are running shy, you know, this gets harder and harder to take things out.
You got $100 buffer, what are you kidding?
Here you can just see graphically some of the site changes.
So let's walk you through,
By this big
actually, I'd like you to finish the conversation about the budget and Marco again.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Finance committee.
at this point right now, based on our conversation with Mike Units, there is $700,000 in ARPA money for the whole town. So there's a limit to that amount, and we've included a fair portion of that in the town hall. So if we can get something for the senior center, we'll ask for it. I can't guarantee it, and I did include it here on the budget, but I have a line item for it if we can, to help reduce at the very bottom. So, there's also some other funding, it's a Bristol County fund, but it's a little bit more difficult to obtain, so again, it can be asked for, and it's not, the town doesn't have control of that, Bristol County does.
Question on this. The town hall is $0 for permitting, this one is 20,000, it's for specific permits.
I'm hoping that we can put that back into the, yeah.
It's just, you haven't won enough.
I can imagine them would charge us.
No, it could be state permits.
Oh, state permits.
Yeah, because
Oh,
it's right on
permits.
140, the other one's off
State
the highway.
permits, and then, and the planning one was because, it's a third-party, peer review. That the town has to pay, so.
Any questions about the COA presentation?
I think Ed has a couple more things, or you all said it?
I just wanted to graphically show the changes on the site that are on this list we talked about already. The tile that's on the list, and then we can quickly just go to the next steps, and I think this will answer some of the other questions.
Yep.
We still have to, we're in the process of all of the local approvals on this, as we spoke about earlier. We still need to submit to DOT for curb cut and utility approvals. That can't occur until we've received all the local permits. We're anticipating that could overlap with the bid. We still need to coordinate the front end with the town. We'd like to schedule a PBC meeting to review and approve the interior finishes, and to also rank and approve the alternates, to your point, Brian. Things we still need to do, finalize the construction documents, the bid documents, and then advertise for bid and go out to bid. So there's still a fair amount of work to do, but we're getting closer.
Did we talk, can I ask a question?
Yes, Diana.
Go ahead, Diana.
When do you need the interior and the alternate?
9/26.
If you could schedule a meeting on the 26th, it would be great.
Yeah.
I'll leave that to your discretion.
9/26, Diana?
Works for me, it's 2 weeks.
So we're not,
What about the rest of the building permit, does that work?
Works for me. Bob?
Works for me. Yeah, it's fine.
Is Mike Units still on?
Mike, you still on? Mike Units?
Mark, will you post that, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess so.
We're gonna meet.
So I have a question.
I think that would be great to confirm the program.
Diana?
Yes?
The team would like the committee's approval of the 35-item VE list.
Can I ask a question before we approve that?
Diana? Beth has a question.
Yes, Beth?
Yeah, so I know we're not gonna go to town meeting till mid-October, but if the warrant articles pass as we anticipate they will be, how does that impact some of these items on this list? Or,
It shouldn't impact it really at all.
I think it makes it actually work, it's necessary.
say that again?
It makes it work, it's necessary that you receive that.
Based on the equipment
Adjustment.
being at alternates.
Yes.
the equipment being at alternates, but what about some of the stuff that we're getting cut? If say we get a windfall, you know, can we then in turn tile the bathrooms up to the ceiling or put the trim on
Well,
the
what happens
walls, or is
is,
that
it's a
enough?
timing issue, right? It's a timing issue. We want approval tonight for these changes so that we can complete the construction documents.
Okay.
Right? So if you made decisions early enough, we can incorporate them into the construction documents. The closer-
That wouldn't be until the end of, mid-October.
If it was easy, we can do it, you know what I mean? If it's a simple change,
Could be like a narrative
we'll do our
change.
best to get it in.
Addendum.
We could also change it in addendum.
Addendum.
Yeah, we can also do it in addendum.
During bidding, but
Yeah.
that's a very.
That's not our preference, just to be clear.
I know.
So at this point, I will accept a motion
Thank you.
to approve the value engineering list as presented this evening. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
And a question on the motion?
I need a motion and a second first.
I seconded it.
It got seconded.
Okay. Jim?
The value engineering list, can we not include it in the bid document and see what the contractor would charge? If we wanted it as an add-on if we had extra cash?
No.
Because the school department did it that
You
way.
can negotiate as a change.
If I could, what happens is that alternates are generally not favorable to do in the sense that often when you have alternates, and as they get more complex, the value you get for them is very poor. Because, you know, just when people price them, it's amazing how
They'll be all over the place.
they're all over the place. And so what we're trying to do is minimize the amount of alternates where possible. And it's not that you couldn't have 10 alternates, you could. We just don't think it's wise, you know? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We're trying to get the project to where we think it's about there, and then have a few things that create that flexibility, you know, should there be additional funds. And again, as mentioned, there's also a way to purchase it later through a change order process, you know? But it makes the bidding process much more clean, if you will, and reasonable when you're trying to select who that final bidder is.
Because the school department added 4 of their alternates
We have
to the
to,
contractor's list based
We have-
on what they bid.
if you looked at, yeah, how many now?
We have 5 potentially right now,
In-
without this list.
And you have to do that when you award the contract.
And if there are some on there that you'd like to see, it's not that we're saying no, we just would prefer it's not like 35, you know?
Yeah.
Right. But if it's one of those or 2 of those, like included, absolutely.
If you're getting into like the 6, 7, 8, that's where you sort of want
It
to
gets a little
pull
crazy.
back a little bit.
Yeah, I understand the extensivity of the list complicates the matter.
It complicates it, not because it's like complicated, when the bids come in, and then you're trying to decide who the low bidder is, right? And you're trying to decide, is that, good? I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, I mean, because some bidders price their alternates differently, low, high, and then you get that, okay, here's the apparent low bidder for base contract, but if you take alternates 1 through 3, it's a someone else. If you take 1 through 5, it's someone else. And that's all part of bidding.
Yeah.
You know, and you gotta look at the funds you have, what you wanna choose, but we've had projects where the base contract low bidder didn't get the job because an alternate was accepted.
Again, I think if you go through that list and there are a few things you'd like to see, we recommend you bring them to us as a, you know, can we see that as an alternate?
We can discuss it on the
And
26th.
we'll offer our opinion and you will decide.
Because you have to designate the alternates very clearly, both on the
And in
spec and
order.
in the drawings, what the scope of work is.
I have a question. I know when we go out and do fundraising, one of the things that is real popular is sort of the buying of the brick. I know we're doing like poured concrete. Can it be stamped concrete where we can,
I think all that has to be later after the bid, and it would be a change order,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, and you don't get your best price on a change order. We all know that.
What's that, Dinah?
And right now, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Yes.
Yep.
If anyone would like to amend these 35 items, Didn't vote against it.
35 plus 9.
31 plus 9.
35 plus 9.
Yeah, you're right.
31 plus 9.
Yeah, because 4 are crossed out.
Well, that's right, okay. 31 plus 9. Vote against the motion, but we need to maintain some order here.
I speak on the motion.
Yes, Jim?
By voting against it, I think we should all take this home and study it. I don't see anything I change, but they're giving us the option to study
Can I
it.
make a clarification? Again, if there's simple items for us to add, if you came to us next week or 2 weeks from now, our next meeting, and said, can we put the black back in? There's no issue with that, you know? It's the complicated items that we worry about.
Oh, Diana, do we still have the meeting scheduled for the 22nd next week?
We've never had a meeting for the 22nd.
No, I thought we did.
That was with another town board. I think that's with the Conservation Commission.
Yeah. Our next meeting will be the 26th of the month.
Planning board is the 20th. I don't think we have anything on the 22nd.
It was August 22nd.
September.
Oh, I missed it.
Something else that we haven't discussed that I'd like to add, if I could, I'm sorry, if I could, Diane, if you don't mind. We do have a few potential risks, if you will, we define them as risks. We're still waiting for an acoustic study for the generator, and if it has excessive noise, we're going to need to address that. There's also the issue of the water quality, domestic water quality, whether we're going to need water treatment. And then as we submit to Mass DOT, then goes back to the site plan. At present, we're not showing a curb or sidewalk along Mansfield Ave. If DOT happened to ask us for that, we'd have to go into the project, you know. So just to understand that there are a few risks out there that haven't been resolved.
And planning board.
And planning board.
Planning board conditions.
Well, the issue has been raised that the water quality may be poor, is poor in certain areas of Norton, but in this area is...
Wrong people to talk to after paying $16 million added to the town meeting
the architects. And something else, and of course, we still need planning board and zoning approvals. We still need to resolve some, we need to clarify questions about the parking count, and if we needed additional parking, that would be a significant cost issue, not to mention a time issue in terms of updating the documents and getting, you know, new documents prepared and submitted. So
It would be a redesign.
it would be a pretty significant issue. So again, we believe that this is a good amount of parking for the use as described, but there are still a few questions about just the steps in the approval process, if you will.
Before we move for a vote, the tanned parking, which you just eliminated the picture, but the tan parking on the left, is that on grass or pavement?
No, we still have that's in the project.
That's paved in the base bid.
In the base bid.
Let's
Okay,
focus on where we are with the motion on the floor. I believe Mike has told us that there are several outstanding items which I can track what we're doing so far. But we do have a motion on the floor for a specific. Would you like to postpone this vote until the 26th? We can table it until the time certain, if not.
Need before, Mike prefers it tonight, so they can move forward.
What is the building committee's pleasure?
I say let's vote on it and see what happens.
Okay, I want to vote. It's going to be a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion to accept 31 plus 9 value engineering list? Jim?
Aye.
Bob?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
I vote yes also, it's unanimous vote.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been approved. Now we're gonna have budget discussion.
Oh,
Now, Madam Chairwoman,
Yes, Mr. Slattery.
I would like for somebody somewhere to send a letter, and I understand Mike was online somewhere, but we have not seen a school department rep, and I know Sherry has had family issues, but they could have had an alternate here. We haven't seen a select board member here only once in all our meetings. I think these reps should be shown. No finance committee person has been showing up. I feel that if they're interested in what's going on in the town and this bigger project, I would hope that they would, I want them to attend, but if people want to do Zoom and have the whole difficulty of the Zoom meeting, because I could not hear you halfway through the whole meeting because the speaker on somebody's computer is set for silent listening. I'm done.
I know that the Commonwealth does the primary meeting, which is what this is. You can also choose to go completely in person.
That still doesn't make it right. It's an excuse to not attend, as far as I'm concerned. You should have a good excuse, like a family emergency, I've got COVID, I'm lazy, I want to sit on my couch and eat potato chips, or whatever you want to do.
What I was going to suggest is that, why don't we find out if we can go to an entirely in-person meeting for this whole board, and not have to deal with the hybrid. For me tonight, it's convenient because I have to go to FinCom in about 5 minutes. But what's the pleasure of the building bill? You want to stick with the hybrid, or do you want to go fully in person?
I want to go in person.
If hybrid's fun.
I mean, I think
I want to get home with 4 flat tires.
You're gonna give me a ride.
Jim's buying tires.
Well, James, what are your thoughts?
I really don't care.
Bob doesn't care. The other Bob.
I think it gives, I like the face-to-face, but I also want people to be able to see and be involved with the meeting, so it's another opportunity.
Okay, well, then I would like to, then propose that the building committee sees if the town has something similar to an hour that we could use for private meetings, that would take care of all this connection and having to turn your computer around so people can see.
Do we better off at the cable channel?
At the going where it's suited? You could, yeah, you could ask Jason, he could do that.
Better quality equipment and all that.
I think so, because you're closer by.
What if we just start going back to the cable news?
Norton Media Center.
Norton Media Center.
Have our meetings there,
Yeah.
whatever is easy, because I can tell you, having been home two meetings, trying to do this remotely, isn't fun. You can book the media center, but to a meeting place.
We go through it together.
Jason Benjamin, the director.
Mark, would you look into that?
I will look into that.
Okay, that's great. If not, the only place we could go back to is the library, which has the,
Oh, that didn't work. Yeah, that had issues too.
yeah.
And the other problem we're running into is meetings on the same night. Like, these three gentlemen are supposed to be, I think, with you in front of something at 7:30 or
On the
something
common finance committee, all the same night.
tonight.
All right, we'll try for 9:26 at the Norton Media Center.
Media center.
That's what we're gonna shoot for, yes.
All right, should we at the end? Is there any other business to come before the building committee?
Seeing none.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
See you on the 26th.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.